Welcome to the City of Pana's Mayoral Forum hosted by Pride. My name is Luke McQuillan and I'll be your moderator for this evening. Before we meet the candidates, please help me welcome Pana Pride President Lisa Bland for opening remarks. Lisa?
Thank you, Luke. I'd like to take the time to welcome you all to City of Pana's Mayoral Forum. We are so glad that you have logged in and you're joining us tonight. I'd like to thank the citizens of Pana for submitting their questions and their concerns. And I want to assure you that we have looked at every one of them. We've taken them into consideration and they'll all be considered in the questions that we ask tonight. I also want to thank the candidates for taking time and meeting with us and expressing how they're going to serve as mayor of the city of Pana. I'm looking forward to this tonight and I hope you are too. And together we're all going to make Pana better. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And now please help me welcome the candidates. Rod Helm, Nathan Pastor, and Steve Scott. Candidates, please join us at the podium. Candidates will be given 2-minute opening statements. Order was determined by drawing numbers. Following that will be a series of questions submitted by the community. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer each question, and we will alternate who we start with. Kirby Kasner will be timing each candidate and providing us updates on time left. Let's begin with the 2-minute opening statements. Rodney Helm drew first, so we will begin with you.
Okay, well, I've seen the town and I've watched it for years, and I think there's ways to grow it and have maybe a little more income coming in, and I believe that I can do that. That's about it.
Steve Scott drew second.
Okay.
Your opening statement, please.
My name is Steve Scott. I was born and raised in this town. My family's had roots here over 100 years. 4th-generation owner of my home. I've lived there since 1983. I served 22 years on the city council in the course of 34 years. I've seen how a lot of stuff is done in this town, grant procedures, USDA loans. I know all operations. I'm retired. I've got the time to serve, and I love this town. I'd like to stay involved in this. I've always wanted to be in a leadership role, and I just want to see things move forward.
Nathan Pastor drew third. Your opening statement, please.
Hello, my name is Nathan Pastor, and I've been a lifelong resident of Pana myself. I was born here. I've lived here quite some time. I went to Pana High School here. I went to Lakeland College. I went to Eastern Illinois University. I've had quite a bit of experience in management, and I decided to run for office because I really care about this town. I want to see it grow, and I want to see it prosper as every other town around here is doing. And I think with the right kind of leadership and the right kind of motivation, we can do that. And I think I'm the right person for that position because I have the town's best interest at heart.
Let's move on to questions submitted by the community. Up first is a question on ordinances. This represents a majority of questions and concerns submitted to Pana Pride for this forum. We have condensed those submissions into the following question. What is your opinion about the importance of ordinances, and how do you plan to enforce them? We'll begin with Rod Helm.
Yes, that's a highly important part of any city, the ordinance, and then the next part of that is the backup on your ordinance, regardless of who's in charge of that. It should be a group effort, and things should be looked at around here in town, which you all know that. There's a lot of houses that actually Pana Pride's been doing a real good job of getting them destructed and tore down, hauled off. And I'm tickled to death to see that, but it's one of them things that we don't stay after. Well, I don't know whether there's a dog ordinance or not, but something needs to be looked at that. There's a lot of these things that Steve would have a better idea at than I would, because he's been up here, like he said, for 30 years or whatever. But there's a lot of them things need to be looked at. They need to be followed up on, and they need to be managed to where if you go out and do them and you have the ordinance, you need to follow up and go check on it, not every 30 days or 6 months, weekly, maybe. I don't know till I would then be the mayor to find out, okay? So yeah, it's highly important ordinance.
Nathan Pastor, same question.
Could you read the question?
Absolutely. What is your opinion about the importance of ordinances and how do you plan to enforce them?
Ordinances are very important, especially in a community like this. I think that the fact that we have them is excellent. The fact that we, it's unfortunate. I think that we need an active and either full-time or part-time ordinance officer to go around and enforce those ordinances. I also think we need an actual system or a better type of system to accurately track the ordinances that we have and the people that violate them, or businesses that violate them, and enforce them that way. Obviously, I think the system that is currently in place is not doing a good enough job, either because the individual isn't doing it enough or correctly, or it's just not being documented. I think to begin, the first thing that needs to be done is to hire an ordinance officer and have them go and enforce the ordinances monthly, weekly, whatever it may be, depending on the actual law. And then tracking that system, having a follow through and accountability by that officer to do those things, and as well as with the citizen as well that is violating it, so that the ordinances are enforced and the people obey them, I guess would be my answer.
All right, Mr. Pastor, will you tap on your microphone for me? Okay. Steve Scott, the same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Okay. What is your opinion about the importance of ordinances and how do you plan to enforce them?
Well, ordinances are very important. I got a quick education in that in 1985 when I first came on the city council. Bill Amling, the mayor at the time, was looking at the ordinances in the code ordinance book at the time, which was pretty thick. And I went over to his office and helped him learn how to do it. He would go through the ordinances and rewrite them, present them to council. You have to have a first reading, second reading, then 10 days they become law. And I've helped through the years work on ordinances, updating the dog ordinance. We've updated rental properties. Everything we do has to be done by ordinance. And I've been involved with this for years. And at this time, we do have an ordinance officer. It's AJ West. And they go around, check on problems. There's been several citations. But this last year with the COVID epidemic, the court systems were closed. I know they've got a backlog going in the court system because I know 2 weeks ago, the city attorney and our zoning officer and the mayor, they had a meeting to discuss this and looking at the backlog, because every time we go into court, we get continued because the courts were closed. That's like when we were going through this probate with John Allen properties. It was supposed to take 6 to 8 months and took 14 months to get through the process. So yes, their ordinances are being written up and it takes time. I know over the years we've run across an issue and I get so mad, but it had to go through the legal system and it just takes time. And you know, I think once the courts get running like they should and the backlogs are behind or finished, I think you'll see some changes. And the last house that the city of Pana received was, I worked on it, 102 North John. The city's received it, and it's going to be one of Pana Pride's next building. But yes, enforcing ordinances is something that means a lot to me because I've been involved with it.
All right, next up is infrastructure. The question is, what do you see as the major infrastructure issues in Pana? We'll start with Nathan Pastor.
Well, water is a main one, infrastructure that needs to be addressed. Everybody is having issues with the water system. I understand that it's old and antiquated and needs replaced. That's a good start. Roads as well. I guess the issues with those need to be addressed in the way that well, I guess we need to allocate the type of funding necessary to repair those things in a systematic way and budget maybe a little bit better and more properly to take care of those issues. As far as infrastructure of buildings, again, it goes back to code and ordinance enforcement, making sure that those people that own those buildings or businesses that own those buildings are held accountable and maintain those properties so that we don't have the issues that we've had in the past with collapsing buildings, fires, holes in the road, etc.
And Rod Helm, same question. What do you see as the major infrastructure issues in Pana?
Well, there's several, and they get patches put on them instead of actually sitting down and having a meeting and getting a group effort together. And that's not just this council, that's the city, the folks in the city too. But they have nasty water lines. Every week you see one or two spots that they've dug up and patched that cast iron water line that's breaking. After a while, your patches add up to more than your actual cost is, or close to it, to get that water line then replaced. Now then, on the other side of that, you're gonna have city folks that's gonna be mad or upset with you unless you go talk to them and say, hey, this week, we're gonna do this. You're gonna be without water possibly 2 days, 3 days, whatever it takes. And supply them with water, help them out, you know, it's not their fault the lines are bad. You know, this is city infrastructure that should have been looked after years ago. And as far as the streets and everything goes, like I said, drive over town, you'll hit the chuck holes, the places they dug up where they patched the water. They never go back, they don't fill them back in. I got one cattywampus from my house right now that they were out digging, no trench box, no safety glasses. 3 out of the 7 had gloves. Okay, well, what's wrong with that picture? Why are we having that happen? Why are we not protecting people 5 foot down in there digging on the water line? You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that need addressed. Small things, but they can be big in the end. So, you know, that's what needs to happen. I mean, you know, it's just a matter of going through budgets and find out where the money's at, where you can apply it to, how you can change it from one maybe section to the other. Maybe you don't use that whole 100,000. You put 20,000 in the back, so you got it for maybe something else. There's ways of doing it if you just take and figure them out. That's the whole deal. Yeah, no, and there's some signs need to be changed. There's things that need to be done. Ditches, drain ditches dug out, you know, stuff like that. So it all needs to be looked at.
And Steve Scott, same question. What do you see as the major infrastructure issues in Pana?
Well, the major infrastructure problems we have right now is water lines. In the city of Payne over the years, as money comes available, we've been doing replacement of the water lines. Like right now, at the water plant, we are redoing the water intake tower, building a new one. We redid the dam at the lake. It's something that needs to be done for years. We're looking at running a new water line around Pana Lake on the east side. And construction's going on right now on First Street. We're replacing 5 blocks of water line. Old water lines need replaced. And also we have a grant that we're doing preliminary studies on, running a water line from Kitchell Avenue on 2nd Street, run it past Walmart if we have the funds. It's a 6-inch main since out here on 51, going back to Walmart, we've had 15 leaks in the last 25 years. That line's in bad shape and we are working on replacing that. And every time we try to replace stuff, it costs money. And that's when we have to look at grants, look at USDA funding. And grants, there's multiple way grants are dealt with. You can get some grants years ago that were 100%. Now they're run 80-20, 60-40. Some you have to meet them. You have to pay, if it's $100,000, you have to pay $100,000. In order to come to funding, we have to look at water rates or look at getting these grants and trying to get these projects done that doesn't put a burden on the taxpayers. Sometimes, you know, we get EPA unfunded mandates and stuff we have to do that, you know, it's got to be done. And we have to find the money somehow to do it. But infrastructure is very important. You're talking about the roads. Last year when I came operation chairman, okay.
1 minute.
Okay, when I came operation chairman last year, the road grader, we have saw teeth that we put on that grader to try to grind them grooves down. Well, the township's grader, we watched it last year, and they have a new system they call bull teeth that they use on the blades. It works really well, and we purchased this for our grader. So this next year, we do our road work, we're planning on trying to leave even these roads out if we can.
Our third question concerns investment in the community. The question is, how do you plan to pursue federal, state, and private investment for the city of Pana? Steve Scott, you have the first response.
Well, right now, one of the big investments we're trying to get in this town is the Jack Flash project. Painter Pride's been working on this for some time, and that's something I think is really going to be beneficial to Pana. If we can get this project brought in here, down here where Pana Family Dental's at, there's gonna be 3 buildings taken down there. Eventually, they're gonna build a building next to their building. And I truly believe that once there's new construction starting in town, there'll be interest coming back. There, with this project for Jack Flash, there's gonna be some new buildings built. And I think that's gonna stir interest to come in and start doing some payment. And like I was talking about, you try to get this USDA funds, you have to, search what you have. We have different people that we go through that can search these grants and these different low interest loans. And that's something that, we have Benton Associates, and then now Pana Pride has got an individual that's working with Tom Wovey that looks at these grants and that. And I've talked to this individual a couple times about this, and I think that's going to be beneficial for Pana. And there's monies there, but you have to be careful on what you look at, on the way you pay it back.
Rod Helm, same question. How do you plan to pursue federal, state, and private investments for the city of Pana?
With all the legal laws and rules that goes with that, you're gonna have to take care of your forms, get on I'm sorry. You're gonna have to get on the forms, you're gonna have to get this stuff filed in maybe earlier than what is being done. Maybe it's a little bit late on getting it done. Maybe we need to look at that. Steve mentioned Jack Flash. That's a wonderful thing to come into town. It's also maybe possibly a little revenue for the city to operate a little more than it is. Also, too, I had a question on that. Has anybody asked the man from Jack Flash if it's possible they might put in a additional 2 truck wash bay, maybe a small little tire repair, on that same property to help with the revenue from that property. That's a lot of that stuff needs to be looked at and questions asked. Need to know what the percentage that the city will, have coming in off of that property and the business. So it's just all something that you have to look at. You have to ask questions, do the figures, find out whether it's worth it or not. But as far as I'm concerned, it's worth it. You got a lot of trucks that travel the intersecting highways here. Okay, so you'll have them that will need fuel. You'll have them that will need to have their truck washed. A guy might drive in. I drove a truck. I know for a fact when you get out there and you have a flat tire, you're looking all over for a place to get that tire repaired, so it doesn't do more damage. So I don't know. There's a lot of positives to that. Just more questions need to be asked.
Nathan Pastor, how do you plan to pursue federal, state, and private investments for the city of Pana?
Well, just being a private citizen and running for office, I've already started doing it. I've reached out to Rodney Davis's office regarding this COVID relief money that just passed in this bill and how Pana can get its cut. According to the state of Illinois, they're going to receive $3.9 billion, and they have 30 days to divide it up and give it out to all 1,298 municipalities in Illinois. Pana should get a cut of it. I'm trying to reach out to him and discuss with him how we get that money and how quickly we can get that money. I've also brokered a deal in the past month with a restaurant to come to Pana and take over an existing location and bring some additional business to Pana. I've also had 2 conversations with a scouting agent for Target, which is interested in coming to Pana, either for a big box Target store, a Target Express, or a Target distribution center. I guess the whole point of it, the question that you asked is, how am I going to do it? I'm going to reach out to these people. I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to talk to those people. I'm going to go out and meet with those people to bring that business to town. because just waiting for those people to come here and show up, they're not going to do it. We're going to have to go out and find them and bring them here and sell this town on why this is a good location for those people to come here and those businesses to come here. So to answer your question, I will go out there and ring doorbells, knock on doors, be on the phone and discuss why Pana is a good place for these businesses to come to. Doing it as a private citizen now and doing it as the mayor if elected.
The people of Pana are the subject of our next question. The question is, how are you going to enhance the quality of life for the citizens of Pana? Rod Helm, you have the first response.
Well, on that, you got to look at every aspect and quality of life and be sure that it's all being looked at and addressed. I'll guarantee you, if you had folks sitting in there asking questions, there'd be a lot of questions about neighborhoods, sidewalks, all kinds of stuff like that that needs to be addressed and figure out how to do it and when to do it. When is now, figure it out and schedule it in, get it programmed, get it ready to go, get this stuff done. I mean, sometimes you walk down the street on a sidewalk, you'll trip and fall. Some of these people on the little buggies, they'll go around the sidewalks in the grass to get back up, and there's no reason for that. We're not a city that should let that go on. Okay, so that's it.
Nathan Pastor, same question. How are you going to enhance the quality of life for the citizens of Pana?
I think the best way to do that is to invest in the people, invest in the police department, invest in the fire department, invest in the infrastructure, work with the people to better the community, such as what Pana Pride is doing. Come up with projects, design projects, see them through, follow them through to better the parks, better the roads, better the town. It goes back to the infrastructure question. You just have to motivate the people to assist and to believe in the town just as much as you do. If all it takes is just a spark, if you can light that spark in somebody, the entire town will come together, as this community does when things like this happen, to get behind a goal and a movement, a better way to get things done. And I think the best way to do that is to communicate to the people that, hey, we're here to help you. We're not a city council that's focused on our own needs. We're focused on the needs of the people. And as mayor, that's something that you definitely have to do. You have to let the people know that you're behind them. You support them and you support their businesses and you support their children and you support the schools that children go to. You just have to motivate the people and let them know that you're there for them. You're not there for you. So if I were elected mayor, I would make that point across to communicate to everybody and be open and transparent with them as to what's going on in this town and how we're trying to better it and to make it better and to improve their lives as it should be, a community like this.
Steve Scott, same question. How are you going to enhance the quality of life for the citizens of Pana?
Well, like I was saying a while ago, we've got major projects going on. The water plant, this last year, we did the 94 Claricone, and that updated the water system out the water plant, bringing in better water. That's one thing, that you have to have safe water for this town. We're in the process of replacing water lines, and anytime you do that, that's, saving money by, like we were talking earlier about having water leaks and breaks, and you have to go out and clamp them, and that's getting to be very, very expensive, but it costs money. And one of the things that's important is last year we had the parks closed. That was a terrible thing, but we had to go by what CDC said. And this year we're getting the pool ready. We're getting everything lined up as if everything's going to go like it should. And I feel like, the kids need to get out, join their friends again. The parks are there. Everybody in the city can go enjoy the parks. We have people coming through here, think our parks are great, and we need to push that. And, everybody's got to try to work together. If we try to get together and be positive, this town will move. And I think right now there's projects that's in the works for this town that if we stick together and work together, I look for 360 on different jobs coming back to this town. I think that we'll benefit from this.
Our final question of the evening concerns transparency in city government. The question is, how do you plan to keep city departments accountable to get their jobs done and keep our citizens informed on their work? Nathan Pastor, you have the first response.
I'm glad you asked that. What I would do is have a tracking system and an infrastructure system built in that we need to do to have that accountability. We need to have leaders that are effective in those roles or those departments that can be trusted to make those decisions and report back. And they have to do so within a X amount of time, or there will be accountability held. You just have to be able to track what's going on and be able to motivate those people to do what they need to do and do it in the time allotted. That's the best way to make sure that there's accountability for those kind of roles. Things need to be modernized within City Hall. Things need to be computerized. There needs to be an updated website. There needs to be an updated ordinance system. There needs to be an updated, well, everything for the infrastructure within this organization so that the accountability can be tracked and can be presented to the people so that they know what's going on in real time within their town. I think that's the only way that that's going to actually get accomplished in this particular instance.
Steve Scott, same question. How do you plan to keep city departments accountable to get their jobs done and keep our citizens informed on their work?
Well, for one thing, we have a water superintendent, a street superintendent, and we have a water superintendent. And those individuals are the supervisors of these departments, and they're the ones who are held accountable for what's being done. We get a weekly report from the street superintendent on what work is being done every day, where they're at. If there's leaks, we get reports on that. That comes out, tells us how many hours are spent per equipment, per man hour, explain what the jobs were done on that leak. So there is accountability on that. And I, as operations chairman, I'm out and about, I go out and see what the guys are doing. You know, when the guys have major water leaks, I'm out there with them. You know, here in City Hall, you know, the clerk's office is updated very well. You know, they are the backbone of the city, the clerk's office is. The water department, they're just as well as the clerk's office. But I work with the clerk's office a lot more because we're out the lake measuring lots or whatever. A lot of that stuff goes through there and you have to rely on them. And I really feel comfortable if I call one of them, I know I'm gonna get the right answer and get the project done. But like I said, the supervisors, you know, if something comes to City Hall, Terry Klein will send it out to us. And like here a while back, we had a problem on Kitchell Avenue. And Terry sent it to me, had pictures. I had the guys out there within a few days and that was fixed. So anytime there's, you know, projects being done, you know, everybody has to count each other. Right now, the street department is shorthanded, which we're working on trying to get more people in there to work. But I really believe right now that, you know, the city is working pretty well for what we've got in shorthand.
Rod Helm, same question. How do you plan to keep city departments accountable to get their jobs done and keep our citizens informed on their work?
For the citizens, I'm a firm believer that the mayor's office, the mayor needs to be in here 9 to 5, just like everybody else. So if anybody has questions, they walk right up there with an open door policy and talk to the mayor. I don't see that happen. I don't think I've heard of that even happening in a long time. That will help a lot so the citizens know that you're there for them with questions and answers. And if not an answer, you'll find out why. That's highly important. Now, the next thing you talk about accountability. Be right honest with you, accountability is 4. If you rated it on a 1 to 10 scale, it's rated about 1.5 or 2 on accountability. When you have things going on in this town like they are, within the city workers that's taking care of this stuff, you see stuff that should never be happening whenever they're out there working. And that's just me driving around what I see, riding over the bumpy roads. I'm retired. I don't have nothing to do but 5 days a week, be in that mayor office for the citizens. And there's a way to do that. I've asked a couple people about why don't we have maps of the city somewhere on these walls? And when that street department or water department repairs the line, why is that not highlighted with the date and the time that that was repaired? So that you can actually see this with your eyes. You can't have accountability out of thin air. You got to have something to go on. You've got to have stuff laid out, things done, so that you can say, hey, come on in and we'll talk to you, this is not right, look at what's happened. It's the way it has to be. I don't think the city's ever had much accountability like that, to be honest with you. So that would be my plan if I'm elected mayor. Bring some accountability where you could see it with your eyes when you look at it. So yes, that answered your question. Thank you guys for putting this on.
Thank you all for your responses. Candidates will now have 1 minute for closing remarks. Steve Scott, we'll start with you.
Well, I want to talk about something that Mr. Helm said. Here within the last month, the city of Pana did something that was, to me, after being on this council over a course of 34 years, is something that's going to be great for the city. They passed its GIS tracking system, which is its geographic information system. What it does, it takes Christian County tax assessor maps, shows the houses and the streets, and we can lay our water lines on that map, water, sewer lines. We can also make notes on this. If there's issues with the water line, they can make a work order on it that will stay on there until the work order is fixed. And anytime there's leaks, they can mark on these maps, and it's in a website app. And we just did this Diamond Maps, and now instead of going out of water, they can guess where your leaks are at.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Rodney Helm, your closing remarks.
Well, from what I've seen in the past, they need a mayor that's a little more involved than what we've had in the past. Like I said, the door policy, be there 9 to 5, unless you have some kind of emergency or medical or something to do. But that person should be here because that's the key person that helps all the rest of these people. They can come in, open the door, walk in, talk to them. You can discuss it. Then you can take it to the meeting, okay, whatever you need to do, the board. Like I said, I'm retired. I have nothing else to do. I've been retired about 8 years now. So it's something that I would enjoy doing. And that's the secret, is you have to enjoy what you're doing. And I enjoy it very much. Thank you.
Nathan Pastor, your closing remarks.
I think, and I firmly believe, it is time for change in Pana. I think we can all agree that what is going on now and what has happened in the past is not working. And I think new blood and new invigoration in this community is what it needs. I think it needs new leadership. I think it needs new motivation. And I think it needs new transparency with people of the town. And I think if you vote for me and elect me to this position, I will provide those things to this community 100% as best I can for as long as I can. Thank you.
That concludes the City of Pana's Mayoral Forum, hosted by Pana Pride. We'd like to again thank our candidates for their participation and the City of Pana for use of City Hall. I've been your moderator, Luke McQuillan. Be sure to tune in next week at the same time for our Aldermanic Forum. And don't forget to make your voices heard at the polls on Election Day, Tuesday, April 6th. Have a good evening.